Hey everybody, Anthony here with a review of Roberto Alagna, Vie est, with conductor Yves Casal, along with the New London Orchestra, which was originally released on November 17, 2014, but was released in English as My Life as an Opera on January 26, 2015. Accompanying Roberto Alagna was his current wife and the absolutely fabulous coloratura soprano Aleksandra Kurzak. This album contains opera arias from the bel canto period all the way up to the late romantic period and even up to the verismo and the modern periods. And there are also a few surprises to be found, like Signore Alagna's renditions of Lenski's Kuda Kuda from Tchaikovsky's Evgeny Onegin in French, his rendition of Orfeo's Che farò senza Euridice, and even his only German aria, Magische Töne, which is basically Assad's aria from Goldmark's Die Königin von Saba. And what more can I expect from someone as charismatic, charming, and absolutely awesome as Roberto Alagna? It should come off as no surprise that I've been a fan of his for many years, especially starting off when I was a 10-year-old boy. And I've been growing up with this particular tenor whose style and overall elegance and dedication to his craft are definitely of the highest order. Whether one likes him or not, one really has to give him a lot of credit for everything he accomplished as a charismatic and absolutely grand singing actor. He had a lot of highlights in this album, whether it be Ducreuil's two arias from Puccini's Manon Lescaut, Pinkerton's Addio Fiorito Asil from Madama Butterfly, and even having Vesti la Giuba from Leoncavallo's I Pagliacci as a grand closer, or even recording Gounod's and Massenet's lesser-known operas like La Reine de Saba and Elodiade respectively. He definitely showed a lot of dedication and strength in terms of his interpretive powers that I was immediately blown away, as I've always been. He was able to put in so much emotion, especially in Leoncavallo's Vesti la Giuba from I Pagliacci, and I thought that aside from being a great closer, I also thought that this was definitely one of his greatest shining moments found in this album. And even though it was kind of unusual to hear Kuda Kuda in French, I still have to give Signore Alagna a lot of credit in terms of how he was able to make this particular aria come to life, and he was able to bring in a great amount of melancholy. However, if you ask me, my most favorite tracks definitely have to be Un tenero core, which leads up to the cabaletta Un lampo orribile from Donizetti's Roberto de Vereux, especially considering the fact that he was joined by Aleksandra Kurzak as Elisabetta. And speaking of Roberto Alagna's and Aleksandra Kurzak's vocal chemistry to be found in the couple of tracks they've recorded, I have to say that these two were absolutely phenomenal. I really loved their rendition of A la luz de la luna, in which they were able to sound so sinuous and absolutely sensual together, especially when their voices blended in such a heavenly way. They brought in a lot of beauty and charm to this particular Spanish song that I was blown away. I can also say the same thing about their duet in Roberto de Vereux, in which their voices not only matched so well, but they also knew how to navigate such challenging lines, and they, as always, were equally as well known in the bel canto operas they've been specializing in the early parts of their career. And going to Aleksandra Kurzak, what more can I expect from someone as fabulous, grand, and pristine as her? She definitely knew how to win me over, not only with her great skills as a singer, but also her great talents as an overall performer. And while I thought she did an amazing job in terms of her part as Elisabetta from Donizetti's Roberto de Vereux, there were other voices who could have also sung her part. Let's take, for example, Elena Moshuk, in terms of how she throws herself in as an actress and a singer, and in terms of how much fire and life she gives to Elisabetta. We could have also had Diana Damrau to sing Elisabetta's lines, because she's not only very well known for her great singing talents, but also her dedication as an actress. And I've always wanted to hear Frau Damrau singing something like Elisabetta from Donizetti's Roberto de Vereux. The same thing I can say about Elena Moshuk. Or we could have also had Klara Kolonitz on the helm, especially considering the fact that she is one of the true examples of a dramatic coloratura soprano of today. And aside from Moshuk, Damrau, and Kolonitz, other exponents who could have also taken on Elisabetta's mantle would have been Angela Mead, Albina Shagimuratova, and even Marina Rebecca. I'm sure those ladies would have done so amazingly in this iconic heroine, but I abso-freaking-lutely digress. I still have to give Aleksandra Kurzak so much praise and so much credit for everything she has accomplished as not only a great singer, but also a fine bel canto specialist. And they also managed to hit that final high D so well, which is something I have to salute both Roberto Alagna and Aleksandra Kurzak in terms of their efforts as fine bel canto specialists. Now, while I thought this album was an overall solid listen, there were a few caveats, and the one definitely has to be, I would have wanted more. I would have wanted to have a little bit more Verdi or even more bel canto being put in this particular album. I would have loved to hear Roberto Alagna's renditions of, let's say, Carlo Moore's arias from I Masnadieri, especially O mio castel paterno, which then leads up to the cabaletta Nell'argilla maledetta, and maybe even Persi's arias from Anna Bolena by Donizetti, especially Vivi tu, te ne scongiuro. That would have been an absolutely great thing for Signore Alagna to sing, but as you can expect, I digress. I still have to give it to Signore Alagna for everything he accomplished as not only a charismatic singer, but also for throwing himself in every aria he sang. So overall, Roberto Alagna, Ma vie est un opéra, or Roberto Alagna, My Life is an Opera, was an absolutely great listen. If you are a major fan of Roberto Alagna, then I'm sure that this album is not only a definite must-listen, but also a must-own. With that said, I give Roberto Alagna, Ma vie est un opéra, a well-deserved rating of 5 out of 5 stars. Yes, despite some caveats I had, I still had to be kind of lenient with my score because I'm not only a fan of Roberto Alagna, but I definitely love the absolutely great track selection he was able to pull off in terms of not only singing all of these arias, whether they be in Italian or French or even German, but I also have to salute him for everything he did as an absolutely charismatic performer. And that extra point also had to go to Aleksandra Kurzak, whose great talents as a bel canto specialist were certainly unparalleled. Even more so, I have to give it to Yves Casal for conducting the New London Orchestra to the greatest of his abilities, and he also made a great contribution into making this album stand out so well. And for those of you who listened to Roberto Alagna, Ma vie est un opéra, what'd you think of it? Did you feel like Roberto Alagna was strong all the way through as a singer? Was there a particular track you loved, whether it be the duets he had with Aleksandra Kurzak or even the solo arias he had? Or was there a track that you were not a fan of? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in much later for my review of Berlinis Norma at the Norska Opera. So until then, have a great day, everybody.